Welcome, Milene. It's really good to be with you.
Hey there, Galina. It's great to see you today.
Yeah, and I really have wanted to do an interview with you for a long time. We've been speaking a little bit off camera, and I just can't wait for people to hear you and your story and your wisdom. So,
Mm.
can we jump in a little bit with who you are, where you are in the world, a little bit about you, and maybe where were you finding yourself when we first met?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Galina. I'm excited to be here with you today. We first met, I think it was 3 years ago. It may have been 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And I had heard you on a podcast. And where I was that I'm a physician. I'm in the South. I'm in Athens, Georgia. And I was on yet another diet. I had yo-yoed with diets, and this was another diet that I had done, and this time I'd kept the weight off for about 2 years. And in my quest to lose weight, I discovered coaching and discovered that a lot of things in my clinical day were taking up space and time, and that I was doing a lot of things at work that were really burning my energy. And so once I found this coaching program, it helped me to lose weight, but it also helped me to recognize the areas in my life where I wasn't being fulfilled, and overworking was one of the areas. So I was able to go from working about 65 hours a week to 45 hours a week. And in those additional 20 hours that I found, I had then decided that I wanted to become a coach. And so I started training to become a coach. And when I did that, the next thing I knew was that all of the things that had helped me to lose weight, like planning meals, like doing my self-care, all of those things, that they kind of went out the window, and I started intermittent fasting because that's the trend. And I found myself eating one meal a day. And the good news was that the my scale wasn't budging, but I felt like crap. I was ignoring myself all day. I was starving. By the time I got to eat dinner, I would normally plan a really healthy meal, and I would eat that meal, but then I would consume probably another 1,000 calories. And in comes the guilt and the shame, and I would vow to do better the next day. And the next thing I knew, it had probably been about 18 months that I was on this cycle of restricting, restricting, restricting. I would eat one meal, I'd end up binging. So I developed this sort of binge eating disorder,
Hmm.
where even though I was eating one meal a day and I wasn't gaining any weight, I had all of these negative emotions. And decided that I was going to try to fix this, and decided that I had read some about trauma. I discovered NARM. I'd gone to see a counselor. The counselor specializes in disordered eating. And she told me about this book, intuitive eating. So I read the book, and it turned out that the counselor, even though she saw me for an initial visit, she decided that she didn't have a time available for me, and that they would call me when they had time. So it was going to be 6 to 12 months, they said. So I kind of felt like she gave me a lifeline and told me to read this book, but didn't really have any follow-up. So I was trying to figure out what do I need to do? So I read the book, and then I listened to you on the NARM podcast, and you had said intuitive eating's great, but if you don't feel your body. And I thought, wait, what? I remember I rewound it, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is exactly it. The book intuitively makes a ton of sense. But I don't feel hunger. I don't feel fullness. For me, ignoring my emotions, ignoring myself all day long was way easier than stopping when I was full. And I thought, oh my goodness, I need to learn more about this. And that's when I decided that I would do your discovery call. It was that workshop that you did, and it all just made so much sense. It was like, oh wow, I do think this is the answer. And then I did your program, and slowly but surely, I recognized that part of this journey was going to be me feeling my feelings, and that it wasn't that I couldn't just strong arm my way into it, that it was really going to take time. and it was going to take me connecting with myself. And I started learning a lot about my needs and the fact that I have needs and how do I meet those needs and identifying that I have them. It was Yeah, I think we first started, I think deciding that I would never go on a diet again, recognizing that I'm not broken, that the way that I was eating was making complete sense. It allowed me to achieve most of all that I had achieved in my life, and recognizing that my fuel in this life had really been drive, determination, and effort. And that now I was going to have to look for this new fuel, and this new fuel was going to be really becoming more introspective and um, figuring out what exactly did I need, um, and being, and I hate to say in my body, but it's being in this moment and checking in with myself and figuring out, okay, where am I? How do I feel?
Yeah. That's a big journey you've been on, Milene, and it's been about 3 years since you started.
Yes.
I'm curious as I was hearing you and my tears were really being touched, like knowing how monumental it is to kind of decrease the overpowering, the overriding, the striving, the minimizing of the biology and turning in towards ourselves.
Hmm.
It's a monumental shift and you've made it. You truly have, and it's really a tender thing to consider. I'm wondering, you mentioned shame and you mentioned guilt and this kind of cycle of eating in a way that wasn't aligned with how you wanted to eat. How did you feel about the struggle when you were in the midst of it?
I felt stuck. I felt very, very stuck. Um, I felt like anytime I went to eat, that I had lost all control and that the binging sort of took over.
Mm.
And one of the things I had come to was that, you know what, I'm just going to have to start like a child learning how to eat again and accept that chances are I was probably going to eat past full for a while until my nervous system recognized that I wasn't going to be restricting all the time. So I did start eating, I got rid of the food rules and I started eating regular foods. And about that time, I discovered your program. I had already been on that journey. I'd probably been eating foods and accepting that the scale was going to start going up and that I was overeating. But it wasn't until I found your program that I started to be able to incorporate some other things. And I don't know how to put it into words except for once I started really tuning into my internal experience, is really recognizing how rushed I always was. In my day to day, I was rushing from one thing to the other. I had very poor routines. Like my wake up routine and my going to bed routine were sort of haphazard. Some of the nights I did it, some of the nights I didn't. I would never, Rarely would I make my bed up in the morning. Things were always very disorganized. I would go through spells where I would get really organized and then the disorganization would come in. And I guess I'm starting to think of what's different. The things that I've been able to really take care of is to recognize that I have um, how do I say this? That really the start and the end of my day. And it wasn't until I went to the retreat that, I went to your first retreat, and at that retreat, that was 2022, probably. No, 2023. I went to your retreat. And after that retreat is when I recognized that, we had routines for how we did everything and the calmness and um, how you would go into one activity that you would, it gave me this newfound sense of peace that when I came home, I was able to start incorporating some of these ideas. And it wasn't even ideas, it was like you had to see it done, like you didn't realize that, hey, I don't really have this until I missed it when I got home. So now, as we fast forward, I have a morning routine and a bedtime routine that feels really nourishing. That even if I'm running late, it's like I still get these things done. I make my bed. I'm so much more organized in my things but I think it's a reflection of my brain and my sort of nervous system being more organized. And I'm less rushed. Like I'm not that voice in my head that was always rushing me, that was, do this, do that, do this other, is just so much calmer now. It's not even really calmer. It's just yeah, it's got a different tone. I've got a lot more gentleness and a lot more softness. Yeah, I would say it's more gentle, it's more soft because I've started paying attention to that internal experience and I'm less driven, determined, and focused and more sort of present in my day to day.
Yeah, as I'm hearing you, the sense of like being caught up with yourself is coming up to me. It's like
Yes,
things are getting digested as you're living, as opposed
yes,
to always having to rush through and leaving all these experiences, whether it's at work or at home, just undigested. Like it sounds as we're speaking and we're speaking before the recording, like you're so much more caught up with life.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I think the fact that I have so much more white space, and it's not that I've created a
Yeah.
lot more white space because before it was like I would expect myself to go to work and then I would expect myself to come home and do, additional work. So I'd had my full-time job and then I was doing some coaching on the side and found that I was doing that after a busy day's work and not really paying attention to the fact that my head was saying I'm full. So as I started creating these buckets and these spaces of white space, I've just landed more and recognizing that I need my nervous system needs that. That without that, I feel like I'm either in fight flight, which is not very common for me. I'm more in shutdown. So I would be more in a frozen shutdown state. And so the more I realized that I was in that state, it was giving myself the space to sort of just be and not expecting anything of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really tuning into how that's a very different kind of self-care than
Mhm.
probably what you were doing or planning or intending to be your self-care before. And I'm just curious, how has your self-care changed? You mentioned so many things you were doing, programs and diets and reading books and getting coached and organizing things a certain way until they no longer worked. How is it to include your nervous system and your body in your approach to self-care? How is that different?
I'm definitely not doing as much. And I think there's a lot more trust there. Like before, I felt a lot of FOMO, a lot of fear of missing out. Like, oh, I always thought this next program's it. And I can't really recall a program that I thought, oh, I have to do that. And I'm a self-proclaimed, self-help junkie and really enjoy reading about the brain and the nervous system and all of this. But really found that that was a way of distracting myself. And now I have just a few people that I follow. And if I get it done, I get it done. And if I don't, I don't. I just really wait until I feel inspired to do something. Like I had thought about, I'm still in your program and it's on Mondays. And for the longest time, I would make myself go, even though my nervous system was at full capacity until one day I just really realized Mondays are just not good days for me. I still want to be in the program. So I listened to the recordings on my time. And the old me would have felt like, oh, I've got to get it done this week. And, a few weeks may go by and I may do it, but it's always, the timing is always right. It's almost like there's more trust that I'm going to get out of whatever it is that I'm doing, what I need. So I'm not really consuming a bunch of stuff.
Oh,
I'm just spending a lot more time and this is something that I've never done. I'll be 54 this year, and it has taken me at least until 50 to recognize that I need downtime and my brain sort of craves it. And if I don't give it to myself, I will almost be sitting on the sofa in complete shutdown until I'm like, okay, wait a minute, I've got to, I've got to really pay attention. And so I'm not waiting until that happens. Now I'm giving it to myself in much smaller doses. Yeah.
I'm listening with a nervous system lens. And, for those uh, listeners or readers who are present here for this recording, it's so amazing to see, oh, wow, a system that's used to be go, 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 shut down, go, 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 shut down, that you've done the necessary work to attend to yourself, to host your states, and to be present for your life, so that now there's a third option, which is I can start to unwind, be present for the unwinding, and the rest can be nourishing because we don't rest in collapse. We're just surviving.
Yes.
It's like rocket fuel. And then I was telling somebody yesterday on a call, you're either at the beach or in the basement. It's like there's a middle place. Like there's this lush green park where you can rest. It doesn't have to be go, 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 and then collapse, go, 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 and then collapse. But if that's all the nervous system knows because of the high stress that it was exposed to early on, it doesn't know that there's a third place. Like when did we even see, for some of us, our families of origin didn't have that third place available to the whole family system?
Yeah. That's amazing to think about.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
really incredible. And now that you have more white space, it's a beautiful way to name it. You have more white space. Your body doesn't need to fill it with busyness, with doing, with activity. You can yield into the white space and be nourished by not doing. And then you mentioned then an impulse comes to engage with something. And so I can be in a relationship with the content, whether you're reading something or you're doing the recordings from our collective, I can be engaged instead of just consume. And I
Yes.
think that has an amazing parallel with food. It's like, are you engaged with the food or are you just consuming it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That place of engagement only comes from when we don't come to the meal or to the learning in a nervous system state that's inappropriate for receiving. You know,
Yeah.
it's a
That's so
very,
true. Yeah,
it's
I've been very surprised at my true capacity because my what I thought my capacity was probably it's probably half of what I really thought it was just because I was so used to pushing. Like even in my clinical day currently, by the end of the day, I've learned how to regulate between patients and I'm getting better and better at that. But at the end of the day, I'm still just way past capacity and have been, so now I only work 3 days a week and I don't require much of myself after my day that I've been working. And it's been fascinating because I've started lifting weights and I lift weights on Thursday and Saturday, and I was going to add a third day, and my nervous system was just like, no. I went into complete just resistance and quit working out altogether. And when I started investigating why, it was because I was going to add that third day, and it was just like, I'm at capacity on Tuesday that my nervous system was just like, no, we're not going to even let you plan it. There's going to be no planning. There's going to be nothing. You're going to stop all of it because we see where this is going right back to where you were with this, this determination that, oh, this is what it, because if I plan it, then chances are it's going to happen. So that's just been really fascinating. And it took me about 6 weeks to really realize that, this is what's going on. Okay, I promise I will only keep it on Thursday and Saturday. And now I'm back to lifting my weights on Thursday and Saturday and enjoying it and not having all of this procrastination that I was dealing with because it's right now it's just not possible because I haven't, and that's just it. I think with the cognitive stuff, you can kind of you can, I don't want to say fool yourself, but I think it is fool yourself. You can think that you're doing differently, but when your body tells you no, it's going to tell you no and it'll be loud and clear and you can kick and scream and you can try to override it. but until you understand that, I think it's amazing. It's not on my time. Like, before we started recording, I was telling you that I've spent 2 years on my downtime doing nothing to the point that my sectional where I sit has gotten worn away. And I'm finally getting to the point. It's not every day, but it's Thursday, it's especially Thursday morning because Friday, when I work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, by the time Thursday comes, I'm just beat. And if I really connect with it and allow it, I'm not ready to do much of anything until the afternoon on Thursday. And it took that long for my nervous system to trust me that I wasn't going to fill that with a bunch of stuff. And it felt like it was just one day. It's like, okay, I've had enough. And when we remodeled and we're adding to our sectional, so it was an L, now it's going to a U. And so we inquired to see how much it would be to replace that cushion. So fortunately, it's only $100 to replace that cushion. And I feel pretty confident that that's not going to be my permanent residence. But, you know, giving myself the time as I'm connecting with myself and trusting the process and it took some time for me to quit calling myself names like lazy and, you're so unproductive because I really thought that if I was resting, that I should have a book in my hand. I should be listening to a podcast. I should be journaling. I should be planning what I was going to be doing. And none of that was rest.
No.
And it literally took me just sitting there and just allowing to the point now where I really feel like I can rest without just surviving, just truly, truly rest and noticing that I'm worthy to do nothing and that doing nothing is valuable for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's restoring, it's nourishing. It's not a place in which all the self-criticism can flood in.
Hmm.
And I think this is something that it takes us a while to develop a good internal mother. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because in so many ways, it's like you being a parent and um, you it takes a while to become a mom to a
Hmm.
child. And it takes a while to become a good mother to ourselves as well. Not in like a coddling kind of way, but in a nourishing kind of way. Because when we're little and we're overwhelmed because of whatever's happening in the environment, the only internal mother we can create is critical.
Hmm.
And so the moment that we start to ease down and rest and we have some white space in order to protect from the criticism that's going to flood in or the shame or, the name calling, we keep ourselves busy. As long as we keep ourselves busy, we keep that internal critical mother at bay.
Yeah.
And it's only in the softness of compassion and
Hmm.
self-understanding and love for what it cost us to survive that this good mother can start to develop. Um,
Yeah.
and now I can be at rest because there's someone on whose psychological lap I can put my head.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, the way that I ended up relating to this part of me, this harsh inner critic, it's a part of me that's really scared. If you use the IFS language,
Yeah,
has really good intentions. And
yeah, of
actually, that little part of me that's so loud and critical, it's helped me to achieve everything that I've achieved.
course.
It's helped me to keep, ignore yourself, keep pushing, do the next thing, all of that. And it served me for a long time.
Yeah,
But now it's a new season. And this new season, it's really telling that part of myself, it's okay. I see you, I hear you. No, I'm not gonna turn into a bonbon eating 700-pound person or whatever it is. It's like really reassuring myself that I've done enough and that this is my time and learning to really relate to that part of me that that inner voice started to really calm down some. And when it does start to speak, it's like, really listening out for, what is the fear behind all of that? And what can I do? What is it that it's trying to warn me of? It has really good intentions.
Yeah.
But if I would have listened to it, I would still be on the go. It's really amazing. When I started doing my taxes this year, I realized that with the coaching, physicians are really hurting right now. It's, the culture is one of you just ignore yourself, you keep pushing. It's, you don't call out sick. You're working from the time you get there until the time you go home. It's complete focus. And when I started coaching, it was during the pandemic in that first year, despite working full time, I was coaching about 20 hours a week and found that I was really good at it. And now looking back, it took a lot of courage for me to sort of step off of that treadmill and recognize, what, this isn't working for me. And so slowly but surely, I started saying no to a lot of different things and started recognizing that in me there's a part of me that likes helping, that is a helper, um, that's good at it, and I don't have to do it. I don't have to do it on someone else's terms, that I can do it on my terms, and recognizing that, doing that is another form of holding other people's suffering. Like my day job, I feel like I'm at the front row of suffering. And to add that in, and I've been able to do it on my terms. And even though it's been less and less and less, I don't feel like I'm missing out, which at the beginning, I really felt like this was my calling. I need to be doing more of this. And it's been it's it's been a real learning for me to
Yeah.
know, yes, I can be good at something, and I can say, you know what, this isn't nourishing me.
Exactly, exactly. It's this very interesting place in the nervous system where we want to get energy back, whether it's a friendship or it's a work engagement. We want to get energy back from what we just did that is equal or more to what we gave.
Mhm.
And then that goes into, what we're getting paid or what we're saying yes to, or what kind of friendships we're willing to participate in. That, oh, my system is not just a giving system. It's
Mm.
also a system that can be fed. And that changes how we do everything. And then the satisfaction and
Mm.
the enjoyment and the replenishment really feels fair. So we're less likely to burn out, less likely to be resentful, less
Mhm.
likely to, fall into bad habits of just feeling like work is a groundhog day, as opposed to, hey, I went to medical school because my heart for helping people led me there.
Yeah.
And can I still feel my heart in my work? You've mentioned a few times being a physician and that being stressful and that leading you to ignore your body. And when I work with physicians or nurses, um, that tends to be very common. There's a way in which working in a hospital itself is a very, with sensorily, the sensory system gets very overwhelmed by the beeps and
Mhm.
the lights and the pace and the speed, and people who are in the ER or ICU. It's a very intense environment. And you mentioned that you've been doing some regulation between patients, and that makes me so excited. Would you be willing to say a little bit about how the nervous system learning we've done together has impacted your care for yourself at work, and even maybe in some way it's overflowing to your patients?
Yeah. So at work, I was recognizing that, um, sort of like climbing a hill. Like I would find myself with the first patient, my nervous system was good. Second patient, especially if it was someone stressful, my nervous system would come down a little bit, but maybe not quite to where I was when I first started. And then as the day goes on, the more stress I had, it was sort of, I would get at the tippy edge of my capacity and find that sometimes I would go into fight flight, or I would go into complete shutdown, and recognizing that I need to do something between the encounters in order to dissipate some of that energy. So some of the things that I do is like bouncing on my heels, when I wash my hands, giving myself a little bit of massage, um, taking just a moment and doing like 3 breaths. I've done alternate nasal breathing right after a patient encounter. I have those little squishy guys from our retreat, and they sit at the nurses station. So when I come out, oftentimes I will play with them and look at them and hold them in my hand. They're really small and they're sort of squishy, and just get really, really present. Yeah, those are some of the things that I would do between patient encounters. To sort of get myself regulated. But I think most of it is the 50-50 attention. I think, yeah, you were the one that taught me about the 50-50 attention. And it's when I sit down, feel my feet and feel my butt in the chair and keep 50% of the attention to myself and to give the patients 50% of the attention and really be present. We've gotten a new AI scribe that takes notes for me. And so I've really have found that I can do this and feel like I get a real good sense for the overall picture, and I'm getting less sort of bogged down by all the details.
Oh,
Uh, because patients are really complex, and oftentimes we may go like on these little tangents. So I feel like I'm able to stick with the main storyline when I'm still connected to myself. Like I still hear the golden thread that's going through whatever it is that they're telling me. I feel like I'm a lot more present.
oh,
Uh, and with my patients, it's really asking them, is it, how do you feel on the inside? What's going on for you? And it always, I don't know why it still surprises me, like someone's dealing with something, whether it's their blood pressure is really out of control, blah, 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 and I'm taking the same meds, they come in saying nothing's changed. And of course, I ask, well, what else is going on in your life? And it never fails. Oftentimes, it's just like this rush of tears. And of course, there's always something else
mm,
that maybe perhaps that they're dealing with, and really encouraging them, helping them to understand that there's for sure a mind body connection, and addressing all of you can be super important.
wow. What a
Yeah.
gift. I feel like that's one thing I hear from students all the time is like, I wish my doctor would ask me. I wish they would see that this is freeze. I wish they would see that this is fight flight. And I know
Mhm.
this is coming more and more into your profession. And I know that you're spreading it with your own experience and your own just way of being with yourself. That itself regulates patients. I find that going to the doctor is one of the most stressful things for most of us. And so
Mhm.
having a doctor who's in their 50-50 awareness, who's asking what's happening on the inside, that immediately
Mhm.
decreases arousal and immediately opens us up to, well, what do you think? What do you think we should do here? As opposed to like, oh, this is not helping or nothing's helping or
Yeah.
there's no way forward. And health is such a complex picture. And to have the presence to hold the thread. Oh,
Yeah.
what a delight to hear that. We've been
Yeah.
speaking for a while. I could talk to you for hours, but I would love to hear as we are kind of landing our conversation if there's anything else in your journey that has been like pivotal moments, maybe like you were saying, we went to the retreat and all of a sudden I had a sense of what the routines could be at home. Is there anything in your journey with your nervous system learning over the last 3 years with me that has been really like an important moment that you want people to know about?
Yeah. I think, I've been to the retreat twice, both years that you've had it. And this will be my third year going, and it is just indescribable. I don't know what it was that I needed, but I definitely got it at the retreat. And it is spending a whole week focused only on yourself and your nervous system. And a part of me felt like I didn't do all of the activities 100%. I felt like there was a little skeptical part of me that was like, oh, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to opt into this, I'm not going to opt into that. And it was still just fine, because I can't even explain it. It's being in that community of unconditional love that's sort of emulated for you and held for you for those 7 days with complete strangers other than you. There was one other participant that had been there before, but other than that, I didn't really know anybody.
Mhm.
And it didn't matter. It is the activities that were done are really geared towards helping you connect with yourself, and the space that you all held there and that the rest of the group held, as far as we're all here for the same common reason, and it's really to hold space and to be in each other's presence and to have this healing environment in this beautiful location with this great food, with these activities that are well planned. Once I'd returned home, it was my nervous system felt different, and I couldn't put my fingers on
Mhm.
it, but and it's something that you can't imagine. I couldn't just, like, my husband will ask me, well, what was it? Like when I decided to go for the third time, he goes, you're going back again? I said, yeah. I mean, both experiences were completely different.
Yeah.
I think because I'm different, but those experiences have led to where I am today, for me to be able to trust in this process and to know that there's something different that's in the mail that I'm getting closer and closer to. I don't even know how to explain it. But I would say learning about the nervous system and all the psychoeducation that you give, I think gives me a framework, and then actually living it for a full week and being with other people in a community that's safe and supportive was it just life changing.
Yeah. Thank you, Milene. I'm really, really glad that that's how it's impacted you. And I can't wait to see you in a couple of months. And, we're planning a very beautiful experience again this year. And you're a part of it. And you are the godmother, for those of you who don't know, of our retreat. You are the first one who called it Somatic Summer Camp. And that's what
Yeah,
it's called now.
Somatic Summer Camp. Yeah. So it just brings you home, a little bit closer to home. And I don't think I would have been able to make all the changes that I have made without having that example for a full week. It feels like such a privilege to be able to go. And I just really wish everybody could go at least once, because it is just such a different world. And I think it's helped me to enjoy my job more as well, because I see things so much differently. There's a part of my job, even though it's very demanding and there's so much pressure for all of this other for just all of medicine, but I know I'm making a difference, and I know that I'm connecting with these people in a different way, and I know that I'm hearing what they're coming to me for in a much different way than before I started this journey.
I
Yeah.
feel really fortunate and privileged to be able to sit here with you, and kind of like we're the future Milene and Galina that met, 3 years ago.
Yes.
And who could have expected what would have happened? And it feels really like a beautiful miracle that our biology is capable of these immense transformations, no matter where we are in our journey. Okay, for dessert, I have a
Can I
last.
say one more thing?
Yes, of
Let
course.
me say one more thing. So one more thing that I did that just came to me, and it was really, I think when we first met, I just wasn't aware of anything. Like my clothes didn't fit. I was always, always had this idea that I had to be a certain size and I wasn't going to buy a bigger size. And so I'm wearing clothes that fit and feel comfortable. I'm very conscious of how clothes feels on my body, and my shoes. I've always had pretty wide feet. And so I've always just bought shoes, and if they fit, they fit. And it was okay if they hurt. And the self-compassion, and I think that if I had to narrow it down, the self-compassion that I have developed for myself has not only helped me, but it's really had this ripple effect to my family and my patients. And it's the compassion that I've been able to show myself has really helped me in so many areas. Whereas before, this sort of, I can just push through it. I'm strong. I'm blah, blah. Not only did I treat myself that way, but I felt like that was sort of the way that other people experienced it.
Mhm.
And now with the self-compassion that has as I get more and more connected with myself, the more I'm paying attention to where I'm suffering and doing something to alleviate that suffering. Um, I think it's just made my world and everyone and everything in it so much better.
I'm gonna take that in my heart and carry it with me all through the day and the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, like, because we've had sessions and we've talked. So, like, I remember the moment with the clothes and I remember the trip to somewhere far. And, like, I remember these moments throughout your journey that were really like stepping stones to
Yeah.
growing compassion and like a more soft and tender connection with, like, oh, here's my home is in here. My home's in my feet.
Mm.
That's where my home is. And I wanna, I mean, you're gonna see like here's my clothes. Like I wanna be comfortable and I don't wanna
Yes.
be restricted and I don't wanna fit in a pencil skirt because there's no space for my belly in it.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. The more I can sense myself, the more I can make choices that foster more care.
Hmm.
Choice
Yeah.
itself makes it easier to feel my care on my body.
Hmm. Yes.
Oh, my dessert question for you is if somebody's finding themselves where you were 3 years ago, working a lot, being really busy, producing, caregiving, family, work, ignoring themselves all day, and then perhaps overeating because what else is the biology going to do than swing the other way? Maybe thinking about what's the next diet or intermittent fasting or maybe some big medical decision. Like I work a lot with people who've made big medical decisions at times like that. What would be your advice for them if they're considering engaging with their nervous system and the trauma imprints?
Um, I think you said what would be my advice for them?
Mhm. Yeah, from
Uh,
where you've been, like what would you tell
yeah.
them?
I think just stop believing that you're broken because it makes sense.
Hmm.
Before I came to this work, I felt so broken and had so much shame. And the most interesting thing about me was my weight. That was always what sort of led. And now I recognize that that's probably the least interesting thing about me. And even looking back at pictures, I don't have, I don't look at myself through the same lens. Like I used to think, oh my God, I'm so fat in that picture. And recognizing that I'm not broken and it makes so much sense that food was my companion and that food helped me for such a long time. And I haven't, I'm not cured, not that I'll ever be cured, but I'm not completely healed, but I'm getting closer and closer. And the beautiful thing is that I've been able to accept myself right where I am. And I've been able to love and take care of myself and know that there are a lot of my family loves and accepts me. And, my weight isn't it just is, and it makes complete sense. And that, everything that I'd been through throughout my life has gotten me to where I am here today, and the good and the bad. And I think it was getting off of that yo-yo. I mean, I would diet until I got down to a certain size, and then the next thing I would know, I'd turn back to food, and then I'd go back up again and go back down. And the roller coaster, it just feels so unsettling. And my worth always depended on stuff. And I can't, I don't think I'm not, I don't have unconditional love for myself yet, but I'm getting closer and closer and closer. And I definitely know that I'm not broken and that I don't need to be fixed and that I don't have to go on another diet. And that I'm a whole person with so many other things other than just my weight. So that would be my wish for them is to, because I find so many people are just so focused on their weight and they feel like if I could only fix that thing, um, then I would be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Milene. This is a really tender note to complete on, and I feel it would be a really nourishing one. Thank you all for
Thank
listening.
you.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
having me, and thank you for doing this work and for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Milene, for being willing to share your story. I think our stories make stepping stones for the next person who's lost.
Mhm.
And I really, really honor and cherish your story, and I'll be sharing it with readers and students. And I know that someone's life is going to change because of you changing your.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I do think we're lost. We're lost to ourselves. And the journey is the journey home.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for this precious time together, Milene. I appreciate you so much and can't wait to meet you again live in just a couple of months.
Yes, can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me.
See you at Somatic Summer Camp.
All right. See you at Somatic Summer Camp.